So can you see my PowerPoint presentation?
No. Working smart with named range.
You see?
Yes.
Okay, working smart with named
Working
ranges. You can see it, right? Okay. Okay, that's where what we are going to discuss today. So,
Remember where we stopped at the other time?
we stop at where?
I say you remember where we stopped at the other time? Date function.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
We stopped at text and the date function in our last class. But today we are introducing one of the best tools for writing clearer and the smarter Excel formulas, known as named ranges. Okay, so what I'll do in today's class, I'll go through the slide, explain all the slides, then we move into Excel. Understand? We'll move into the Excel for practicals. Okay, so that we will not spend too much time on moving to and flow into the slide and the practicals we're going to do hands-on practice. So, like I said, we are going to discuss how you can work smarter in Excel using name ranges. Okay, you will see how this is actually handy for us, for you as a data analyst or whatever field you are, where you have to use Excel to work. So if you look at the subtitle, it says boosting clarity, speed, and structure in Excel formulas. Okay, so let me move to the next slide. So in this class, we are going to understand what a name range is. Okay, we are going to learn why and when to use name ranges. We are going to explore 3 ways to create them. Then we are going to manage, modify, and apply them in calculations. After you have created name ranges, there are 3 ways, just like I said here, there are 3 ways we can create these name ranges. But after creating it, maybe you want to maybe rename it or iterate or, do one of things. That's what I mean by manage, modify, and apply them in calculations. We are going to see that. Then you are going to see how you can use advanced tools like apply names and name manager. This is where name manager is actually where you are going to use to manage, modify, and do all of that. Okay. Then now what is a name range? Okay, what is a name range? When we talk about this name range that is going to help us to boost our productivity and others. A name range is a tool that I use to assign a name to Excel. I mean to say not Excel, to Excel. So you have a cell, Excel sheet consists of cells, right? Or group of cells. Okay. So we can use name range to assign name to a cell or range. When I say range, it's group of cells. A group of cells in Excel is called range. When you select multiple cells, okay, so we are going to see how we could use name range to do that, because that's what name range is all about. Okay, we use it to assign name to cell or cells. Then name ranges makes formulas easier to read, okay, manage and reuse. You remember when we talk about references, we learn relative, absolute, and mixed references, and you can see the example that we have here. Maybe you are inside a workbook or your worksheet, and you see where maybe a particular cell that contains an information, and if you click into it, you see the formula A times $P $1. That's A4 times P1, right? Even though we made the P1 absolute. Now you keep on going to and fro to know what information you have in that A4 and what information that you have, the value, okay, the data you have in those cells, to know actually why you have. Can you hear me? Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So let me this. Okay. So like I was saying, name ranges or name range helps you, making your formulas easy to read. Okay, easier to read than you not understanding. Okay, A4 times P1. What value do we even have, or what we actually want to get? But when you see something like annual salary times pension rate, or you know that okay, this particular cell contains information like maybe the annual salary times pension rate. So we will use it to get maybe a package. Okay, we want to give an employee, or yes, an employee actually. So annual salary times pension rate, okay. It helps you to understand better than just A4, P1 and all that. So then the next thing we will discuss is why use name ranges. You need to understand it's not just like you are using name ranges. Excuse me. Hello, Noya, I'm in class. I'm teaching. I will call and get back to you. I'm in class. I'm teaching. So this person kept calling me, so I had to take the call. So and I wouldn't want a call that interrupt. Enough.
Hello.
So can you hear me? Hello? I think the same
Hello.
network interrupted. And I'm not sure this thing is recording again. Let me. Okay, it's actually recording. So let's continue. Let me share my screen again because I can see. Okay, what it actually does is that it stops my screen sharing, but recording is still in progress. So, okay, so let's continue. So, why use name ranges? You need to understand why you are using it. Okay, so you can be able to defend it, or even, explain to your colleague or to your manager, team lead, and others. So, why we use name ranges is because it makes our data cleaner and readable. The formulas has to be readable. Instead of seeing A4 times B2, you see a certain name, that is just like we see pension times, what again? What did we see there? We saw annual salary times pension rate, right? So it is cleaner and more readable. Then it is easier to remember than cell references. Okay, you might even not forget, okay, which cell you have to go back in, just like I told you, maybe you click into it to go back to know what we have in that cell and you come back. It's not that efficient for us. Okay, so using name ranges make it easier to remember the cell references. Then it automatically becomes absolute references. Okay, it automatically, so it don't bother about this dollar sign that you have to put in the front of them. So it automatically becomes absolute references, and it is reusable across worksheets. So even if you create it in this worksheet, if you go to if you create a new worksheet, or you already have a new another worksheet that you created, if you enter into another worksheet, you can still use um the name range. You can use it across the workbook. Okay, that workbook that you're working with. So is reusable to across this worksheet. Then it simplifies auditing and debugging. So if you have made a mistake, for instance, you want to correct that mistakes, it make it simpler, easier for you to do, okay, than trying to remember these cells. We have these particular information and all that. So that these are why it's important to use name ranges in your work. Then the problem, okay, without name ranges, the problem that you have when you don't use name ranges. So formulas like A4 times the P word that we talk about, P1, yeah, we talk about can break if references move. You will see that when we start using Excel. Let me see why this gets. Okay, let me go back. So
I'm not seeing
like I was saying, you can move to your mic, please. Search when
I'm
you
not
want to.
seeing the display. Your window is not displaying.
Oh, oh, let me see why that's happened. You're not seeing my screen anymore.
Yes, for
Uh, uh,
since we started this one, I'm just seeing
huh?
just like a picture, a wallpaper,
Oh, it's just like a wallpaper.
a
Like you're
wallpaper.
not
Yes,
seeing
blunt
my
wallpaper.
PowerPoint anymore.
Nothing. Yeah.
Okay, let me stop sharing and try again. That could be because of network. Okay, so let's go again. So what about now? Can you see my screen?
It's on now.
Can you see it?
Yeah,
You can't see it. Could it be network?
I can see it now.
Okay, you can see it.
Yes, now. Problem without named ranges.
Okay, exactly. That's where we are right now. So we want to we are talking about the problem that you can actually have without name ranges. This means when you do not use name range, the type of problem that we may encounter. Okay, so the formulas like A4 that we use A4 times P1 that we already use as an example can break if references move. Okay, it can break, especially when you don't make it absolute or you forget to do that. Okay, so it can break. Okay, if references move, like when you use relative reference, or just like the A4 that is relative. If the references move, it will break and you might get an error or you might be misread with the information that you may have. Then, or it might be harder to read and prone to errors, just like I already explained that. Okay, then name ranges replace this with readable text. Okay, instead of having this A4 times P1, you have something like pension rate, right? Times what maybe other annual salary or something like that. So it makes it more readable. I think I've already explained this area. Then name ranges is equal to built-in absolute, meaning it is by automatically an absolute reference. Okay, the cells, once you name Excel, it becomes automatically fixed. Okay, so no need to use the dollar before the A and before the one to make it absolute. Okay, you don't need to do that anymore. So the moment you assign a cell or give a cell a name range, it become automatically absolute reference. That's what this place is talking about. And I believe you know what absolute reference is. And you can see this is a reason why we treated the references in that class so that when we mention relative, absolute, or mixed references, you know what we are talking about. Then three ways to create name ranges. There are three ways to create these name ranges. Number one is using the name box. Okay, you can actually use the name box at the top left of the worksheet. Then you can also use the define name in the formula tab. Okay, then you can also use create from selection and the formula tab as well. So these are three ways, and we are going to see these three ways to create name range in Excel very soon. Okay, then okay, this is the name box, the first way to create a name range, and these are the steps that you follow. Okay, to do that, you click on the cell you want to um the cell or range that you want to give the name. Then you go to the name box at the top left, you're going to see where that is. Then you type the name, example, the pension rate that we're talking about. Then click enter. You can see it will give it that name, and you are going to see the rules. Okay, you have to have in mind why giving the name range. One is not we notice that we use underscores, not space in between or hyphen, but underscore. That's why we use. So use underscores instead of those spaces. You are going to see the rules as well so that you understand better. Then the second way or the second option to assign name ranges to your cell or range of data is define name, like I talk about. Then to do this, you select the range. Okay, this especially the headers. Excluding the headers, I mean to say, you select the range. Let's say if the header is in A1, then the data actual value starts from A2. So you select from A2 down to where the data stop without selecting the headers. Okay, because the header actually has a name of the header. Then you go to formula tab, then you go to define name. Okay, then you set the name or the range and the scope, whether you want it to be a course workbook or that particular worksheet, right? But usually we do leave it in the workbook so that you can actually use it in other worksheet. Then you see it has more control than the name box, the first one option that we use. This one has more control because you are assigning a name range to a range of cells, okay, than just one particular cell. Then the third option is create from selection. Okay, this select data with headers. You select the data with their headers, the whole entire data with their data, then with their headers, I mean to say. Then you go to formula tab. If you go to the formulas tab, then you click on create from selection. Okay, from there, you see Excel will show you names, available names, like mostly the name of the headers, or the name of the headers. Okay, then you can select label among the labels that they have, either row or column. You see top row, top bottom row, top column, and all of that. You select either the row or column, but since you have, want to, if you want to use the names and the headers, then you use top row, something like that. So we'll see how that has been done when we get to Excel. Okay, so when you select this row as your reference, automatically Excel will give, it's a kind of flash, and that's why you have that here. It's a shortcut, okay, that you can use to do this. Is Control plus Shift plus F3 without going to the, following this process of going to formulas, create consideration. Once you select this data, you click Control plus Shift plus F3. It will automatically, do it for you quickly, like a flash. Okay. So the naming rules that I spoke earlier when I start, explaining the first way to assign a name range, you have to you can use letters, numbers, and underscores. Okay, but what is not allowed is giving spaces in between letters or using hyphens or special characters. Then avoid names like this. Okay, because this actually looks like a cell reference. So if you use it now, Excel will take you to that where that cell is. Okay, so avoid using this type of name. Okay, USA 2020 or something like that. Okay, avoid using it. When we go to Excel, you see, I'll try to use it, this example here. You see what will happen. Okay, then managing name ranges. Okay, like I say, you use the name manager. You will see that in practice to edit or delete or or even assign a new name, okay, to a new cell or range of cells, okay, or to review all the names in one place. We use name manager to achieve this, and you can find the name manager in the formula tab. Okay, if you go to the formula tab, then you look for name manager, click on it, it will review all the names you have, all the name ranges that you have. There you can do the editing and deleting and every other thing you want to do. Then applying name ranges in formulas, you see how, for example, annual salary times pension rate. Okay, you use keyboard only here, autocomplete suggest names and all that. Then you can actually assign it the one you want, or you use F3 to view all name ranges. So what this means is that if we want to perform apply name ranges in a cell, okay, just like when you type into a cell, maybe you want to check something, you say A1 times the P1 is understand. This time you say equal to annual salary. While typing the annual salary, you see autocomplete suggestion because the name ranges that we assign is already stored. So you can use the autocomplete or tab, okay, to select them. That's what this is talking about. Or you can use F3 to view all the name ranges that is available. Then you can go straight to the one you want to use and click on it. Okay. For instance, the annual, when you click F3, see all the name ranges, you go and click on the annual salary times F3, go and select pension, or you start tapping them and you see the autocomplete suggestion and select the one that you want. That's what this place is talking about. Then applying names to existing formulas. Okay, so you have existing formulas, you want to apply names to them. Okay, so you go to formula tab, go to define name, then apply the names there. Okay, or you replace cell references with name ranges automatically. Okay, this it replaces, I mean, this actually replaces, when you do this, it replaces cell references with name ranges automatically. I've talked about this already. Then using formula and paste list. Okay, so when we have created name ranges, maybe we have up to 10 ranges, name ranges that we created, and we want to store it, we want to be able to store it somewhere. Okay, you can use the to insert names or use the paste list. If you go to the formula tab, you see it. Using formulas. If you go to formula tab, you go to using formula, then you see the paste list. Okay, if you click on that paste list, Excel will paste all the names range you have for you so that you can be able to track all these name ranges using the paste list for documentation. Okay, if you want to document them. So then the recap, let's start practice, then we'll come back to this. It's just about um, everything that we are going to do or we have done. Okay, just um, a recap, just like the name is. So this is going to be the data set. Can you see my Excel worksheet? I just opened an Excel worksheet. Can you see it? Okay, but I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I can see
Can you
it.
see the? Okay, you can see it. Okay, so let's continue. Okay. Okay, so this is the workbook that worksheet that we are going to use, or actually workbook we are going to use for this lesson. Okay, so you remember Ken, the data analyst, that we have been using
Mm.
for our case studies. Yeah, so he has been asked to calculate each employee's pension contribution. Okay, he has been asked to calculate each employee's pension contribution, and we have the employee, or you can say the staff data here, right? I don't know. Let me see why. Okay, let me remove this. I don't need it. Okay, I need this tab to. I don't want it to remain here. So this as well. Close. Okay, let me just continue. And like I was saying, Ken has been assigned or has been asked to calculate each employee's pension contribution. this is done by multiplying the employee's annual salary. So we have our staff data here, or employee um, data available here, right? So I can say it's staff, it is named staff, or we could rename it employee dataset. Okay, so this is the database that we created for Pushpin HR database, and Ken has been asked to um, has been asked to calculate each employee's pension contribution. Okay, so like I said, this is done by multiplying the employee's annual salary by a pension. So you can see we have the annual salary here and we have the pension. So we can click into the O cell O4, right? Cell O4. Then you know normal when you want to start a formula, you start with equal to, then what you want to calculate, remember, is the annual salary, okay? Then you say annual salary and times the contribution. Look at, we have, before I go on, if you look here, you see that we have, this the name again, okay. You see that we have contribution that we want to give our employees 9% for their contribution. So whatever amount you make will determine your pension, right? So now we want to say, okay, we have already started the formula, and we say equal to, then we select the N4, right? Then as carries as the multiplication, and I'll say select the contribution, right? Then I will press enter, okay? If I press enter, actually gave me the pension for this person, but if I double click the fill handle to copy it down, you see what happened. Okay, but why? Why did this happen? There must be an error, right? So let's check cell 05 and see what happens. So we click on cell 05. If you look at this formula bar, you see that the P1 that we use here have moved down. So the cell, let me double click it. So you see, you can see it is now 70,300 times 0 or times nothing. So that's why we are seeing nothing. It has moved down, right? So that is why we are seeing all these multiple zeros here. It is very wrong, right? To do. So now I will return to cell 04 here. I click into it. Then I will click the formula and then press F4. Okay, into the P1. Then remember how you want to assign maybe whether absolute or whatever to your um, cells. So I click F4 to make that P1 absolute so that it won't move down anymore for us. You remember this, right? When we talked about absolute and the relative references and the mixed references. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Okay, so you remember this, how we our class, when we talked about the absolute reference, how you can be able, if you want to, make
Make
your cell absolute, the button you are going to
yes,
click,
Shift
F4.
F2. S4, sorry.
F4. No, you don't have to use shift,
Uh,
just click on F4. Okay. Once you click on
mhm.
F4 in front, once you click on F4, it will assign. If you click it again,
To
either
remove
it
one.
makes, depending on what you select. So I've just clicked it once and it makes the contribution data absolute. That is the data in the cell P1, so that it will no longer move down. So if I click enter and I click the fill handle again, you see what happened here is that this value here, it doesn't move down anymore. So if I go back to the 05 and if I double click, you see that it remains here. So it is now this times this, as this cell is moving down, because this cell is relative, okay? It is only this one that will
Mm.
make up. So as it moves down, it will keep on multiplying by this, to keep on multiplying by this to give you um, the result you want. It changes this, right? Now, but after I copy down, it worked for us. Okay. But using or let me just tell you, name ranges make this formula cleaner. Okay. Instead of the M4 times, dollar P dollar one, name ranges makes it cleaner instead of doing this. So using the dollar P dollar one is correct, right? As you can see, we did it, it works, but it doesn't look very nice. Okay, what if we could name that cell something like pension rate? Okay, instead of
Mm-hmm.
just using so what we will do here is I will make our formula more readable. As in using the name box, we make ourselves more readable and professional. Okay, so let's do that now using the name box. Remember, the name box is the first example, the first way I told us we can actually assign name ranges to ourselves. So after selecting the O4 that has the first pension rate value, then I'll go to the what's it called, the name box. Okay. After clicking this, um, um, in fact, instead of using this, we will use the P1 instead, because this is the one that is absolute, not here, not this one. So this is the one we get before. So this is the one I'm going to assign that name range to. Okay, not what we, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm going this, we are going to eradicate it. Okay, to give us back the same result, but using the name box. So after clicking to the P1, then I'll go to the name box. This is the name box, right? Then I'll click it. You see, when I over it, you see a name box. I showed you that. Let me go back so that you see what I'm talking about. So if I hover it, you see name box. This is to tell you that this is where the name box. So whenever you want to assign name range using name box, you know that it is this page that we are talking about. So if I click into it, I will name it pension rate instead. Pension, but remember the rules. Don't use space. Don't say pension, then give space before we say rate. Rather, we use underscore. Don't use hyphen as well. So I'll say pension rate, right? Then after I say pension rate here, and I will click enter. Okay. This automatically, this value here is now pension rate for us. Okay. But let's see why what I told you, you shouldn't use space instead of you shouldn't use space, rather use the underscore, or you shouldn't use hyphen, but rather underscore as well. Okay. So if I use, for instance, now if I use space, or rather, maybe let me leave it, when we get to the rules we would talk about this. Okay, let me just press escape, leave it like this. Okay, when I get to the rules, when you need to follow the rules, we'll do that. Okay, so you can see what you should notice here is that it is pension underscore rate, no spaces or hyphen. Okay, now let me, if you come here now and I want to maybe or before that, if you want to see the name range that you have, that you have already assigned, though I will still tell us that you come to this drop down that is in the name range. If you click it, you will see all the name ranges that you have here. So you can see we have pension rate, right? Okay. So if you click on it, if I click on this pension rate now, it will jump to where, you see, I was here initially, or let me just click into any of this cell. Then I now go to the name box, click on this drop down arrow you can see here. Then I click on pension rate. It jumped to where, to that particular cell that we assigned the name pension rate to. Okay. So now let's use our name ranges instead of these formulas that we applied here. Okay. Now you see we have named the pension rate. Okay. We want to use the name in our formula. So you will see that it looks much better. Okay. And it works exactly the same, just like we have the same result, but it's just that it looks more better and readable for us. Okay. So I will clear this existing or data, or rather, instead of let me just clear this one. Okay, I'll clear this one. Then inside this so M4, I'll click equal to. Then I'll select the M4 that I want us to use. Then I'll the asterisk for multiplication. Then I'll start typing pension rate. You can see I still suggested for us. And if I click tab, it will select it. Okay, then I'll press enter. You see, it gave us the same result actually. Then I'll use the fill handle to copy it down. Actually, it gave us the same result. But if you go into it, you will see is M5 times pension rate, instead of the dollar sign and all that. Okay, but this is just for you to see how you can use name box to assign name range to Excel. Okay, so now let's talk about the naming rules, the rules for naming ranges that I talked about. Okay, let's do that now. Okay, because I actually wanted to do it before, but I felt like we have a time for that. So when naming cells, there are some rules to follow and or rules that you must follow. I've already mentioned them. Okay. Names can contain letters and everything. I said it in the slide when I was discussing the slide. Can contain letters, numbers, and underscores. But you shouldn't use spaces or hyphen or special characters. Okay. You avoid name like saying top five. You want to name your cells or range or whatever, you name it top five or USA 2016. You see what will happen. Let's try that now. So let me just click on any cell. Let me just click on this cell here, and I want to give it a name range, and I'll come here and I'll say pension. Let me say that, or let me say top five. Let me say this is top five, right? Sorry. Okay, if I click enter, you see it throw an error. Okay, it throws an error. You must enter a valid reference you want to go to, or type a valid name for the selection. So this tells us that the Excel automatically not a valid name range. Instead, you can see top underscore five, right? It will work for us. Then don't use another thing. Let's go back and let me show you another example. Don't use this type of remember I told you maybe USA 2020, or let's try, okay, let's use USA 2016 for instance. Okay, then if I click enter, you see it took us to a cell where there are cell names where we have USA. You can see it here. So Excel would think, okay, you want to select this USA. Remember the row 2016 of column USA. That's what Excel thought you want to do there. So it will take you to that cell. Okay, but this is not what you want to do. So you should avoid using this kind of names. Okay, so let me use Control Home to go back to our initial cell. Okay, so don't use that kind of name range, USA 2016 and all that, or top five, writing top5. It doesn't work. Okay, so the best practice is to use underscores to avoid conflict. Even if you want to write USA 2016 as the name range, use underscore after typing USA, then underscore 2016 to avoid any confusion or conflict with Excel. Okay, so we want to name a column. This time, I want to name a column with name box. Okay, so now let's look at naming an entire column. What we did before was naming just a single cell here, right? Now we want to name an entire column. Let's say one column like this. We want to name it, okay, using the name box. Okay, for example, let's say this employee ID that we have here. Okay, we want to use the name box, but this time on a whole range. Okay, so what we will need to do here is I will click on the A4. Remember, I explained this. I said this time you don't have to select the header. Okay, so I'll click on the A4 and I'll use Control Shift plus the down arrow to select down to the last value or the last cell that contains a value inside that column. Okay, then in the name box, I will type. Let's go to the name box again. I'll type. Let's say since this is an employee ID value, so I'll type emp then ID just to give it that name. Okay, this is the name I want to assign to it. You can see there is no space. Okay, either I type it like this MID or M_ID, but this is also work together. So if I type it and if you enter, okay, if you look at this, the drop down, you see that it works. Actually, we have employee ID in our name box. Okay, you can see these are the name ranges that we have assigned so far. Okay, so even if I click somewhere, let me click here and I come to the name box and I click on MID, you see it will automatically select the data that we want. So this work when you want to sum, maybe you want to sum column, it works also. If you say sum employee ID, for instance, or count employee ID or counter, whatever you want to do, employee ID, it will be able to count it automatically, okay, without you coming back to Hoover to select it by manually. Just mentioning the name range that you assign to it, it works. Okay. Now, I hope you understand all the explanation about using name box to assign name to a cell or to a range, because we are done with using the name box to assign name either to a cell, or to a range of cells.
Range of cells. Yes.
You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. So we are moving into how you can use using defined name, okay, and the formula tab, in the formulas tab, I mean to say. Okay, so that's another way to create name ranges. Okay, it's from this formula tab here. Okay, using the define name tool. Okay, if I click into it, you see, you come here, you see this is the define name. Okay, under this defined names tab, okay, or group, whatever. So that's another way. It gives you more control, especially if you want to define a scope. Okay, so this is better than using name box that we just discussed. Okay, so to do this, let's go back to the pension data. Okay, this is our pension. So I'll select the pension column starting from the 04, okay, downward. So let's say I'll do Control Shift down. Okay, so I want to select this pension, sorry, column. Then I'll go to the formulas tab. Okay, if I click on the formulas tab, then I'll go to that define and I'll click on the define. Okay, you can see the pop-up. Okay, so open a dialog box for us to do what we want to do. Okay, and if you look at the name, you see that Excel suggests a name for us. So Excel, look at the header, okay, and see that okay, this column header is pension. It suggests pension for us. Okay, so I can now choose whether this name is you know um okay for me, or I can rename it. Okay, then another thing you need to put in mind is that this scope here will choose whether you can choose whether this name is available for the whole workbook. Under the scope, you can see the scope. The first thing I say, if this name is okay for me, I can decide to leave it as pension, okay, or I can decide to assign it pension rate, but we have pension rate already, right? So, or I can decide to leave it like pension underscore or pension underscore annual salary. I can decide to give it whatever name that I want. Understand? Then this scope here, if I click here, it tells you whether you want it to be across the workbook or a particular worksheet, the start worksheet, or if you want it to be in the start worksheet. So in this case, we want it to be in the workbook to remain here. Okay. Then you can decide to write, this is optional, write a comment if you want. A comment is like explaining what this name box is. Okay. Maybe something like, say, this is a pension column name box. Just writing a comment or whatever. It doesn't actually, it's optional. Then this refers to, it tells you that, okay, it is, we are in the staff sheet, and in the cell 04 to 038. If you look, you see that everything is automatically absolute. The dollar sign has been assigned to them. That is why if I click OK now, you see this column is automatically absolute. Okay, because we have assigned name range to it. Okay, so if you go to the drop down column here, you see that we have the pension rate here. Once I click it, it will go and select that data for you. Then another way we can create a name range is to create from selection. Okay, we create from selection. That's auto name multiple columns. Okay, we want to select multiple columns of data. Okay, so when you have many columns, naming each one manually, just like we did with this one now. Okay, naming them manually might be, it's a pain for us to do. Imagine doing this, you do this, you go one after the other. It is a pain in the, well, I say in the bone marrow, something like that. So that's why we use create from selection. So if you look, you see that each of these type of name ranges, makes this better. Is like this one is better than this, and this one is better than this. So we do this using the create from selection. Okay, it automatically names your ranges using your headings. So all the names you assign to your headings, automatically it will give them those names. Okay, so how are we going to do this? You select your full data set, including the headers. Okay, so to do this, you can say control, maybe let me say, I'll select again all the headers here. Then I'll say control plus control shift down, right? To select everything that is in the data, right? Then I will now go to the formulas tab again. You go to the formulas tab, you see create from selection. If I click it, you can see. Then here I will choose top row. Okay, I don't want to, if you say left column, I say my, you also assign it all these values that you have here as a name. So we want to use the everything in the top row as the name that we want. Okay, that's why I select only top row. Okay, and I will say okay. Now let's check the name box again. So if you come to the name box, you see all those names has been assigned. Okay, we now have all the names here, okay, assigned. So all the columns we have in this Excel are now assigned a name range. Okay, now you want to manage these names, okay, with the name manager. Okay, remember when I talk about the name manager? Okay, so maybe we made a mistake, whether you use name box or whether you use define from selection, or define name or create from selection, whichever one option you use to do. Maybe you made a mistake, typo, error, or you have duplicate, or you want to just delete a name range. You don't want to use it anymore. We do that using the name manager under this formula tab. So you can see the name manager here. Okay. Here you can filter, edit, or create new name ranges. Okay. So let me click on it. Okay. So you can see this is the name manager. You can see all the name ranges that we have here. Okay. So you can see new, you can see edit, you can see delete. Okay, so we automatically have selected the annual salary. Okay, now let me click on edit for response. So I can decide, okay, maybe I want to name it annual salaries, for instance. Sorry. Okay, maybe this is what I want to name it. Okay, I will just edit it and I will click enter. It will rename it for us, but in this case, I want to leave it like this. Or for instance, let me just cancel. Then, or for instance, you want to delete. Okay, let's say you have let me say, let's delete this particular, for instance, you want to delete this particular pension rate, or let's leave it because we actually use it for something there. So maybe you just want to delete, you have a duplicate. Okay, maybe you have a duplicate and you want to delete that duplicate. Okay, what you do is, okay, let me see, let's delete this one because this employee ID and this are the same. So no need, okay, to leave this one. Let's delete this one and have this one that just Excel assign while creating or using the create from selection. So select the ID that we created and we go to delete. And are you sure? Because when you delete it, you can no longer undo. Then you click OK, and we delete that particular name range. So this is how you can use name manager to manage the name ranges, whether you want to, if you want to create a new one, you go to new and you create a new name range. Let's say, because we selected this cell, that's why we have this information here. So I can decide to name, maybe I want to name this cell, give it a name range. You can actually do that here, okay? Or you can actually select any range of data you want to name, and you can actually assign a new name range from the name manager. So from the name manager, you can do all of these things, okay? And you can as well review the name ranges that you have, and you can see the value, you can see it refers to, you can see the scope, and you can see if there is any comments. So that is how you can use the name. And when you are done, you close the tab. Okay. Then the next thing we want to talk again is using name ranges and formulas. Okay, using name ranges and formulas. So now we have used, name bars, create defining, create for selections and all that. So we want to use name ranges and real formulas. Okay, so can want to calculate a total package. That's annual salary plus pension. Okay, so let's demonstrate that in, okay, let me use this particular data set for this. Okay, let me use this. So we have a package column. It's actually the same thing, just that new stuffs are added on it for what you are going to practice, but it's actually the same thing. Okay, it's actually the same thing. So what we will do now, this is a package column. Okay, we want to can the data analytics want to calculate a total package that has this annual salary plus pension. So we want to know the total package we are paying each employee, I mean to say. Okay. So in cell P4, I'll type equal to then annual. Remember I told you, because we have this name ranges, a second suggest it for us, then I can say plus then the pension, right? So say, okay, annual salary plus pension, you can see automatically Excel highlight them for us. And if I say enter, you can see you're able to see, okay, the total package for this particular employee using their employee ID. So by doing this, we have been able to use name ranges in formula. Okay, we apply them using, just like you can see, cell A1 times cell D2. That's what this means. You use it to apply as a formula. So if you if you look at this place now, you see say annual salaries plus pension, annual salary convention, because what this means is that this entire column is annual salary. This entire column is pension. Remember when we use create from selection to assign name range to entire data set, including the headers. Okay, so this is how we are able to achieve this. Okay, it is clean and accurate. No manual range selection needed. You don't need to manually come and select a range, and you come and let's say you click, you say equal to, you manually select the range plus manually select the range. No, just typing the name range is to give you everything, and you don't need to bother about absolute reference and all that anymore. Okay. Then another thing that is very important is we want to talk about is quick start. Okay, quick start with name ranges. Okay, so let's do some quick statistics. That's what I mean. If I say start, don't be confused. I mean statistics. So you want to do quick statistics. Okay, with using the name ranges. Okay, so if you look at this space, you say we have total package, average salary, next review, and most recent start date. So you want to actually find this information here, right? Then to do this, if I come to the total package, I'll say equal to. So this is how to tell you how this name range is very handy for us. So we want to find the total package that you will be summing up the package, right? So now type package. You can see once I type P, Excel suggests this for us because we will have a name range called package. And if I click enter, we have the total package here. And here we want to see the average salary. So what do we have? Let me see. Okay, this is the annual salary, right? Annual salary column. So you want to see the average salary. So what you will do is to type equal to then average. Okay, tab to select the average, and I will now say annual salary. Sorry, annual salary. Yes, tab, then enter. You will have been able to see the average salary for all the employees. Okay, and that particular period, maybe in that particular month. Then you want to see the next review date. Okay, so what we will do here is say use the mean function, the minimum, that's what I mean, the mean. Okay, then if you say because you want to review the next review function, you say equal to mean, then you come to okay, you say select the tab to select the mean function, then you start typing the next review. Remember, we are giving it a name range. Okay, then press enter. You see the next review date. Okay, that's the from the as in the closest review date that you have, the closest review date that you have. Okay, we assume that is the next review date for you, right? And then the max review date is what you use to get the most recent start date. Okay, you want to see the most recent start date. So we do the same thing, and you type the max function, select tab to do it, and you say, what do we have in the start date? Okay, date of hire. Okay, so you say max, then date of hire. That's the name range that we assign to it, and you press enter. Like this, you have been able to see the next the recent start date of an employee and the next review date you want to review that employee just by using the name ranges. You don't need to bother about manually doing things anymore. Just say if it is total package, sum using the name range. Some you don't need to say call to, for instance, you say call to sum. Okay, go to sum, then you come and you highlight manually. Yeah, you don't need to do this anymore. Okay, because name range has already made everything easier for us. Okay, then the next thing we want to talk about is apply names to existing formulas. Let me see. Okay. Okay. So the next thing we want to see is apply name to existing formulas. Okay. We already have existing formulas here. So you want to apply name range to them. So if you already have created formulas using cell references, okay, you don't need to rewrite them. Okay, just like you see when we are wanted to get this particular before we assign name rate to this pension rate. Okay, you don't need, I didn't clear them actually, or rewrite them. What I just did is to you know create the pension name and use the field handle. So in this case in this case you don't need to rewrite them if you have already used cell references. Okay, what you will do here is to use apply name to replace the cell ref with name ranges automatically. Okay, so for instance, if you select cells with the formula like, for instance, let's say, let me just select any cell from here. Let me say this cell, for instance, and I'll say equal to N4. Let me just type it manually so that I'll select the cell and I'll say L4, maybe plus, let's say O4. Okay. If you do this and I'll say enter, okay, it gives us a value, right? Now, um, if you want to apply name to it without rewriting it, okay, what I will do is just like I have the cell selected, then I'll go to the formulas tab. In this define name, I'll click on the drop down. Okay, sorry, I'll click on the drop down. You see apply names. This time around, I didn't just go straight and click on define name because there is a drop down here. So you can either design define name or apply names. Okay, so if I click on this apply name, for example, I'll click here. Then you choose the appropriate um uh you choose the appropriate name. Example, maybe for instance, if it is the package that you want to apply to it or whatever, maybe I want to apply, let me go down, maybe let me see, okay, let me see total package, for instance. Okay, let me say, no, we have not assigned given name range with this stuff. So let me just say package, okay, for instance, and you say, okay. Okay, no, I think I am supposed to remove something. If you choose the appropriate name, example, okay, it will not work. Let me see something else. Let me try something else. Let me say we go to this and you click apply name. Use rows and column names. Which one will work? Which one will work? You have to make sure you select a name that will work. Okay. Okay, I think I made a mistake. No, I'm not. I was not supposed to do this. Okay, I was not supposed to do this. I was not supposed to do this. Okay, let me say we have a cell that is already existing that has a formula like N4. So that is where, but the issue now is that I've assigned. Okay, we have cells that doesn't have. Let me say this cell. We don't have it to say we had a cell already existing that has the formula, maybe where we calculated this annual salary plus this one together. Then you can apply a name range to it, okay, instead of deleting it. But the reason why I can't do this now is because we have already assigned name ranges. So I don't know if the other data set will work. I don't know if it will work. Mm. I doubt, but let's try and see if it will work. So this is actually, no, this one is not what I want. Let me try here and see. So if you say equal to M4 plus, let me see if it will work. And to come here, okay, I've not pressed enter first. Enter. Okay, and let's see if it doesn't work. Just know when this works when you have not assigned name ranges. So let's see if I apply. Let me see pension rate if it will work. Or okay, let me see if it will work. Microsoft Excel cannot find any reference to replace. So we don't have any reference that we can replace here. That's why it doesn't work. But you can actually use the apply name range to instead of maybe writing, because you already have use a formulas, or maybe you're using cell references. Instead of rewriting them, what you have to do is, I've shown you the step to do that. Okay, I've shown you the step to do that. You come to this in the formula tab, in this define name, select the drop down, then go to apply name, and you can apply a name using one of the name ranges that you have already. Okay, so Excel will swap the rest for those names. So that's how this particularly work. So let me undo this. Okay, so the next thing we want to talk about is paste list. Paste list, I'll talk about. I told you how you can actually, we have our name ranges that are available, and we want to paste them somewhere as a commentary or something like that. Documentary, I mean to say. So to do this, you can paste a full list of all your name ranges in your workbook. Okay, so it's very great for documentation or sharing files with others. Okay, so to do this, you go to the formula tab that we are already in formula tab. Then you go to use in formula. This using formula here. Then I'll click the drop down. If I click the drop down, I'll you see all the ranges we have. I'll say paste name. If I click on this paste name, okay, you see all the name ranges that we have. Then if I say paste list, okay, I say I will create a mini legend of your name ranges and their references. You can see these are the name references. So we can actually decide to do this instead of doing it here. Let me undo. We can actually create a new. What is happening? Can you hear me? Can
Yeah.
you hear me? Okay. Okay. Let me go back. So we are in the Excel. Okay. So instead of, you can actually create a new worksheet to do this. Okay. So what you do is, remember what I told you, go to the formula tab, then go to the using formulas, go to the paste names and the paste list. Okay, it will paste all the um all the information that you have, all the, as in the name ranges and the workbook where they are, and the ranges. Okay, each that column, like this particular annual salary, you can see that it is in the staff worksheet, and the range of data that these annual salary name ranges carries. Okay, so you, for documentation, so that if someone come here and say, okay, the gender name range is information about this gender name range is in the staff worksheet, and in the column, you can see it is in the column D4 to D38. So that's for documentation. Okay, how you can keep. So you can actually rename and say maybe documentation of or name range documentation, or whatever name you want to give worksheet. Okay, and that brings us to the final, that's the last thing we have for today. And this is a recap. Okay, why I didn't, this is just like everything we have taught. Okay, today we explored everything around name ranges. Okay, it is very, very important for you, especially when you are using Excel, okay, for weather analysis. Or you can see Ken that we have, who is a data analyst. Imagine Ken is actually the one performing all of these tasks, and you could see how he used name ranges to answer or to solve business or whatever problem, even making quick statistics, okay, without having to manually doing this. Within this means that if you have a task, if you have already assigned all these name ranges, a task that would have taken you hours, within few minutes you finish them, you complete it, and not just that you completed the task, but you have a clear, readable, and as in clear, readable, and clean data, okay, without errors and all that, or a type of data that might be prone to error. So we learn how to create these name ranges. We learn about the name ranges and how to create them with name box, how to create them with define name, and how to create them with create from selection. These are the three ways we created name ranges today. Then we will see how we can manage them using the name manager, and how we can use them in our calculations and functions. Like we did the quick statistic, sum, average, mean, max. You see that? And the formulas we applied, where we see pension rate times annual salary, and or annual salary times pension rate, and we're able to get our package. You see, then you see how we use it to, when you want to clean up other older workbooks, maybe you have an older workbooks with maybe, I think the reason why, when I have a workbook that I would have used to explain that um apply names, because this one already contains, but I didn't upload it. I skipped my mind. That's why it cannot work here. So each anything I want, just like I created this for the quick statistics that we did, I didn't open it. And that's why that the data set inside it do, doesn't contain, maybe you have not assigned name ranges or whatever that will make Excel to refuse to apply the name on it. So that's why. Okay. So, but from here, you just understand, maybe you have an older workbooks that contains, that you where you use sales references instead of name range. So you don't have to rewrite, go on and start rewriting the one on one. What you can do is to select that either whether the data set, the cell or whatever, let's say the cell, sort of, writing it, you go to formula tab, go to the, if you go to the formula tab, you go to define name, I think here, right? You say apply names, and you apply whatever name, maybe one of the names you have in your name ranges. Remember, I told you when you give a name range, just like when we move to, okay, here, this is another sheet, right? But we are able to access name range that we created in this one. So this means even if you have tens or 20 or hundreds of worksheets, you can access the name ranges, because while creating them, especially name from selection that we did, you see that we selected the scope to be workbook, so that we can access them anywhere in that particular workbook. Okay, so practice this in your own sheet, and you will never go back to ugly formulas. So I know if you have any question, you can bring it on and answer it, then you are done for today.
All right. Everything is okay.
Sorry?
Everything is okay and easier. Like I
Mm,
understood what was taught today. So maybe I'll be waiting for the hands-on practice and for the
Okay.
video too, so that I can jot some things down.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, no problem. Yeah.
All right. This
The
that app, or what will I call it? That group you sent to me. You know that I went into that group and I see
mm,
there's nothing I can. It's just like a group someone created where you can bring out your own opinion, or if you have problem, you just bring out. Uh, People will tell you. You understand?
okay, yeah. It's,
So
it's like it's like
I
a
see I see
peer
myself.
collaboration.
So I see myself that I haven't grabbed enough of things to be going there, like to advance to the place. You understand? Because I've checked it,
Mm.
everything there. I've not even finished Excel. Talk more of going there for what is already meant for people that is in code, that is just like you're doing business. You need some extra wisdom or direction
Mm.
on it. You understand? It's like someone that is learning business cannot go there while you haven't even graduated from learning business. You can only be there when you want to
Uh,
add
it's
something
true.
or more
It's true.
direction.
It's true. But there are
Mhm.
beginners, uh, like you, over there as well. The thing there is that in that is just like a community. You need to belong to a community of learners or communities of tech enthusiasts. Whether in that group you see those that are in the area of data science. I don't think there's a way you can find channel. I don't think you have joined other channels. I will show you how to do that later. You need to search for channels, okay, different channels, because that's a Slack community. So you can join based on the one you want to. You cannot say you are pursuing maybe a career in data science and you are joining maybe UI UX design. You need to focus on the track, okay, you want to pursue. So I'll show you how you can do that. So there is a data science track. In fact, even in that data science track, they do hold classes for that in data science. And again, there are
Mhm.
beginners there as well, and there are experts there as well. And another benefit of being there is that they do post opportunity like scholarship
Mhm.
opportunities. You can find or get into a scholarship whereby you can learn whatever you want to learn and for free. I've actually served in that community as a point of contact. I've actually coordinated thousands of learners from different tasks, from beginning of the project to completion, where I'm coordinated students from different tasks, product management, product design, front end and back end development, and we did project from beginning to finishing of that project. I was coordinating them. So I'm telling you from an first-hand experience. So don't pay, you can keep on paying attention there, even if you are too occupied and or you think that maybe whatever they are doing there is advanced. Maybe you have not gotten to that level yet.
Mhm.
You can, you can keep on checking. There are other channels there, other channels like where you can even see job opportunities. They post job opportunities, they post materials. And that's why I wanted you to join there. And it's one of the benefits of my mentorship because I will expose you to all of these communities and where you see have access to materials, have access to training. It is not just the one I'm going to train you because there is a lot in this. There is a lot, and you when you are learning, you as days go by, you keep on being exposed to ideas, things you never know before. See, it is okay, just like some months ago you were not in such community. Today you are in that community. Tomorrow you might find yourself again in another community. Before you know it, Even your phone, when you bring up your phone, now maybe if you enter Facebook, you see something that has to do with data science or data analysis, maybe an ad or because of your interest, things that you are interested in. Okay, so that is it. Don't think that it's just for advanced learners or people that have gone further. You get there as well, but just know that this thing there is a lot to it. Even we that are teaching it, it's not easy. There is a lot to do, and especially when you have a lot of things at hand doing, it's not easy.
Mm.
It's not easy. Whether you are learning or teaching, it's not easy because everyone, even the owner of the platform is still learning. Everyone is learning. There is a lot. And the one thing about technology, or they say one thing about technology is that you have to adapt to changes because they keep on changing every day. And they
Mm.
keep on, new things keep on coming out. And if you don't know it, you'll be left behind. Okay, I know some years ago nobody was talking about artificial intelligence and all that, but today, artificial intelligence, and the people are scared about artificial intelligence taking their job. But it's not artificial intelligence taking your job, but do you know how to use AI, how to incorporate it into your skill? So you see someone that is already a master, maybe you are a Python programming expert, but you don't know how to prompt or use prompt engineering, and you have to learn it because you maybe they are now looking for a software engineer who know how to use generative AI. And if you don't know it, no matter your expertise, they will take another person. Because what AI does is make work easier. It's just like some of these things you see we doing in Excel and all that, you use name range to quicken something that would have taken you hours. It's not that you don't know. If you see someone using AI, it's not that the person doesn't know. Maybe he's using AI to solve problem or write project or do this. It's not because AI can also make mistakes. But if you can read, I kept on telling people, learning programming is not, or this data science and everything. It's not just cramming the code. You want to cram everything. If you have actually learned something, if someone write code and present to you, you can read it. You can actually understand. Or if someone write code and say, what do you think would be the answer? If you frame this, what do you think would be the answer? If you can read it, you are there already. Okay, so why now? Why solving tasks? You can. That's where it is important to research. Doing research before we talk about Google. No, let Google be your friend. Let this be today artificial intelligence, Chat GPT, and all that. Just like why Chat GPT? If you go on researching by yourself, it might take you hours to find exactly what you are looking for. But if you know how to prompt ChatGPT, just one prompt, like within seconds, you have gotten the ChatGPT have gone through all the resources and materials available online and get you the result within few seconds. So that's why it's important. There's a lot for these things, a lot, and challenges as well. Your system might break down anytime. Your you might find yourself in an environment where you cannot even use what you have. That's why I'm also teaching people how you can program using your phone. So it mustn't be with your laptop or desktop. You can even use your phone to write code, do project, do whatever you want to do. So wherever you are, if not at this class, I cannot use phone to present, because of just like we're using Excel and all that. Uh, I could even be somewhere, use phone, hold the class, but it's because of screen sharing and all that. I hold class anywhere with phone, but it has its own limitations. So there's a lot to this thing. But the main thing there is that you see that look behind and to today see if you are progressing or not, if you have learned something or not. So that's it. Today we have learned about naming ranges and you add it to the skills that you have. Before, probably you might have been doing things manually. You see, I taught us relative and the absolute references, everything about references. But it's not that it is no longer important. There is places where you need to use references. You don't have to apply name ranges yet. And if I have not taught you about references, you will not even understand what I'm doing here. You say, which one? Why does it have dollar? Is it a currency? Why does it have dollar behind it and all that? You will not understand. So it's gradually, gradually. That's why this training is a comprehensive training. Okay, Microsoft Excel comprehensive training for data analytics. You have to learn the tool. Not that you have to know everything, master everything, but the confidence with it before we move to the next tool.
Oh, dude.
That's it. So the recording will be available once I'm done editing. And
Okay.
thanks for joining today.
No problem. Thank you, too. Well.
Yeah, welcome.